Great to have you with us. Please like, subscribe, and share. Now, on the flip side, Trump did another major cost crackdown today, and he kept a major campaign promise. And in the words of RFK, which you'll see in a minute, he did something. He had the balls to do something that no other president has been able to do, because he's the only president, I think, in the last 100 years that has not been bought and paid for and controlled by the uniparty. Let's dive into this amazing announcement that Trump did this morning on what he's doing with the pharmaceutical companies and most favored nation status. Check this out, because I think this is almost, if not bigger than, the trade deal with China.
So for the first time in many years, we'll slash the cost of prescription drugs, and we will bring fairness to America. Drug prices will come down by much more, really, if you think 59. If you think of a drug that is sometimes 10 times more expensive, it's much more than the 59%. You know, it depends on the way you want to analyze it, but in one way you could analyze it that way. But between 59 and 80, and I guess even 90%. So when I worked so hard first term, if I got prices down, I remember I was the only one to ever get prices down for a full year, but I'd get them down like 2%, and I thought it was like a big deal. Well, we're getting them down 60, 70, 80, 90%, but actually more than that if you think about it in the way mathematically. And pharma.
So this is huge. Trump signed an executive order today, essentially demanding and mandating that the U.S. be given most favored nation status on all the pharmaceuticals that are essentially R&D'd and manufactured in between the U.S. and Europe. Most of the global pharmaceutical companies are headquartered either in the U.S. or in the EU, including also the UK, because obviously the UK is not part of the EU anymore. But Trump said, no, we are no longer going to be the butt of the world's joke. We are no longer going to bear the cost of everything. Because what happens in these other countries is they basically went to the pharmaceutical companies and said, you can't sell this is the price that we're willing to pay for your drug. And if you don't meet that price, then you can't sell your drug here. Oh, and by the way, go charge the difference because the pharmaceuticals will say, look, we got R&D costs. We got to go charge the difference to the US. And they would. And we did nothing about it. We simply paid the money. Why? Because almost all of our healthcare is a third party paying for a product for a third party. It's an insurance company that pays for healthcare for you, but they don't pay it to you. They pay it to a hospital. So nobody cares what the thing costs generally. The hospital will jack up the price because they know you've got nowhere to go. And the insurance company, once they've got you in, they'll just jack the rates up. So this has been the scam, part of the scam that's been going on. And so Trump instituted most favored nation status, meaning that we will pay whatever the lowest country out there, the price they pay, that's what the US will pay, period. And basically if the pharmaceutical companies don't like it, Trump's going to take care of them, because he's basically going to charge back the other countries for leveling out. He calls it equalization. He wants to level out the price that everybody pays for pharmaceuticals so that the R&D costs can be borne across the entire world and not by American citizens. Check this out. I've had a great analogy of what's going on with this stuff.
I mean, I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine who's a businessman, very, very, very top guy. Most of you would have heard of him. A highly neurotic, brilliant businessman, seriously overweight, and he takes the fat shot drug. And he called me up and he said, President, he used to call me Donald, now he calls me President, so that's nice respect. But he's a rough guy, smart guy, very successful, very rich. I wouldn't even know how we would know this, but because he's got comments. Said, President, could I ask you a question? What? I'm in London, and I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working.
Sometimes I just have to crack up, because the little one-liners. I mean, nobody knows who this guy is, right? The little one-liners that slips in there. I'm taking this fat drug. It's not working. Oh my gosh. All right, let's keep going. Let's get serious.
He said, I just paid $88. And in New York, I pay $1,300. What the hell is going on? I mean, I'll tell you a story, friend.
All right. So a couple more clips that I want to show you. Here's a clip kind of how this thing works. We're going to talk about it. Let's dive into this. And then we got some reaction because obviously the libs are upset about this one as well, because again, they hate America winning.
Hour, and then finally he just said, because they can't justify it, he just said, look, you got me. You got me. I can no longer they've been justifying this crap.
And Trump is talking about a story in which he had the heads of the pharmaceutical companies, obviously in meetings with him. And he's talking about the fact we've got to get these prices down. This is ridiculous. And they're like, no, but we've got all this R&D cost and blah, blah, blah. And Trump said he pushed him and pushed him and pressed him and pressed him until finally the pharmaceutical CEO said, you got me. We've basically been screwing the US because we've been getting screwed by the rest of the world. And so we've been passing all of the cost onto the US. To give you an idea, the United States consumer market for pharmaceuticals represents 75% of pharmaceutical company profits globally. We are the profit center for the pharmaceutical companies. Well, no longer. Trump is putting an end to that.
He just said, look, you got me. You got me. I can no longer they've been justifying this crap for years. They said, oh, it's research and development. Well, I said, well, research and development, other countries should pay research and development too. It's for their benefit. It was a half hour.
So the way this is going to work, and I thought this was brilliant on Trump's part. Trump said, look, I'm going to take care of the pharmaceutical. I'm going to defend the pharmaceutical companies in this as well. At the same time that I'm going to them and saying, we will only pay most favored nation status. Whatever you charge the lowest country in the world, that's what we pay, period. And he basically said, or you're not going to sell anything here, done. And the pharmaceutical companies cannot do that. So they will honor this price. But at the same time, Trump is going to go to the other countries and say, you will equalize what you pay. You're going to pay more for all these pharmaceutical drugs that you've basically been screwing us over because we're not picking up the difference. And if you don't equalize what the developed nations are paying, because he said undeveloped nations, that's a different deal. That there's a level of charity there. But in the developed world, if we don't equalize, then we are going to basically say you can't sell anything, any product into the US market. Anything you sell into the US market, we will embargo. So he has got the juice. He's got the leverage. We are the global customer, not only for pharmaceuticals, but for everything else, to basically go to countries like the European Union and say, you will equalize. You will pay more for pharmaceutical drugs as we pay less, and the pharmaceutical companies will make out just as well or even better. And this is absolutely amazing. So he's got the teeth to do this. Now, of course, the libs were extremely mad. You've got the libs lining up, defending now high drug prices. How dare Trump do this? Oh, he's price fixing. No, he's not. He's ending the price fixing. Check this out.
Liberals are now fighting against low drug prices for Americans.
Donald Trump has just announced that he will be signing an executive order tomorrow that could upend the pharmaceutical industry in the United States as we know it.
He's instituting the per nation policy, which simply says that you can't charge Americans more money for American pharmaceuticals than any other country. It really is that simple. Because the pharmaceutical companies right now make their drugs in America. They use subsidies from the American people. And then after they make the drugs, they sell it overseas for pennies on the dollar, but sell it to Americans for massive profits. And this policy simply says that whatever your lowest global price is for whatever medicine you made, that is the only price you get this for in the United States. That's reasonable. We are helping pay for the development of these medicines, the development of these drugs. Yet we are being charged sometimes 170, sometimes 1,000 times what they're paying for it in other countries. And all Donald Trump is saying, if you're going to produce your drugs here, if you're going to get subsidies from the government, you do not get to rip off Americans. And
absolutely correct. Now check out RFK, because RFK had a lot to say about this. And I thought it was very, very eye-opening. Here we go.
This is an extraordinary day. This is an issue that, I grew up in the Democratic Party, and every major Democratic leader for 20 years has been making this promise to the American people. This was the fulcrum of Bernie Sanders' runs for presidency, that he was going to eliminate this discrepancy between Europe and the United States. But as it turns out, none of them are doing it. It's one of the these promises that politicians make to their constituents, knowing that they'll never have to do it. And the reason they'll never have to do it is because they know that Congress is controlled in so many ways by the pharmaceutical industry. There's at least one pharmaceutical lobbyist for every congressman, every senator in Capitol Hill, and every member of the Supreme Court. Some estimates 3. Pharmaceutical companies, the industry itself spends 3 times what the next largest lobbyist spends on lobbying. So this was an issue that people talked about, but nobody wanted to do anything because it was radioactive. They knew you couldn't get it by Congress. We now have a president who is a man of his word, who has the courage. President Trump was taking money from the pharmaceutical industry too. I think they gave you $100 million, but he can't buy.
I thought that was extremely, extremely important to understand that every other politician, especially Dem, has made this promise. We're going to lower drug prices. We're going to lower drug prices. They have never done anything of the sort. In fact, they have actually participated in raising drug prices around the country so that the pharmaceutical companies got rich and you got poor. Trump, hey, they offered Trump money. Trump took $100 million to win. And then he turned around and said, no, I cannot be bought. I will not be controlled. And so we are getting most favored nation status pricing. This is absolutely amazing. It shows that Trump is not controlled. He's not part of the uniparty, and he is in it for the working American. I love this stuff. If you love this stuff, please like, comment, and subscribe, and share this channel everywhere you go. The Chris Highland Show. Let's keep going.
Unlike most of the politicians in this country. And he is standing here for the American people. I don't know if there's writers like Lord Elizabeth Warren or Robert Reich who are saying that President Trump is on this side of the oligarchs. There has never been a president more willing to stand up to the oligarchs than President Donald Trump.
Absolutely. Donald Trump is in it for the working man. He is a wealthy, wealthy man, but he has given up his wealth to serve America. Unlike all these fake establishment Dems and rhinos, uniparty losers who have gotten rich by serving America. They didn't serve anybody except themselves. They served themselves millions upon millions upon millions of dollars of taxpayer funds. They have served themselves rank and privilege, and they look down on you, down their nose at you because you're the unwashed plebeians, and they're the establishment. They're the rulers. Trump is the first one who has said, track all that. I'm in it for the American worker, for the American citizen, and for America first, baby. And this is just another example of promises made, promises kept, and it is a serious gore in the deep state financing arrangement. He is gutting the pharmaceutical companies in their assault on American wealth. He's going to equalize this around the world. He's not going to let the pharmaceutical company go under. Not going to go with U.S. government tax or U.S. taxpayer or U.S. consumer or U.S. insurance money. It's going to be borne by the rest of the countries of the world. And that is what I call America first, baby, and making America great again. Thanks, everybody, for rolling up. Really appreciate you being here. Again, please like, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, share Chris Highland Show with everybody that you know. Remember, God is good and he is sovereign. Till I catch you next time.